Good evening. Waving to catch your attention. It has begun. The webinar has begun. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Vincent Kelly. I am from Kildare in the southeast of Ireland, for anybody who's not from Ireland. I want to say hello to everybody who's joining us on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Really appreciate you being here. And for everybody on Zoom, you have special treatment tonight because you're right in front of me here and I can see you all and I'm going to just say hello to you. All right? So hello, Kay, Fran, Sarah, Shanora, Teresa, Caroline, Declan, Desmond, Martinez, Sanjay, Sinead, Alex, Sylvia, Sarah, Rachel, Elaine, Heidi, Marie and Tab. Listen, thank you so much for being here tonight. You are going to enjoy this webinar. I've got some really peach pieces of information to give you so that you can go out and do something with it in your life and to make a change. This is not going to be a fancy lecture about theory and the way it should be. It's going to be very down to earth, very practical, and in some cases a bit deep. But we won't go too far down that rabbit hole. Okay, for everybody on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram, if you have any comments or questions or you want to participate in any of the exercises, you can put your comments in at the bottom and they'll come straight around to me on Zoom. For everybody on Zoom, same with yourself, this is a practical webinar, so I am going to be asking you for examples as we go through the webinar. It's not just going to be me talking because that can become boring, you know. And I also like to get feedback to see if people are still alive out there. Sometimes when you're looking at a screen and everybody's there, but you know, you can't see anybody. And by the way, it is okay to turn on your cameras. It is totally okay. I won't say no. The sound is off because we have to mute everything, but I won't say no to your cameras being on. And it's better because I can see you. I can see you. So Teresa, there you go. Teresa's the first one. Anybody else? Any other takers? Any other takers for cameras? Going once. Going twice. Anybody else there? Anybody else? Okay, I'll leave it to yourself in your own good time. Rachel, good woman, thank you so much. You're great. And look, Marie's on there. Hiya, Marie. How's it going? Love the headphones. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. Anybody else want to pop on the cameras? I'll leave it to yourself. Look, some people like it, some people don't. I prefer to have people with cameras on because I can see you. I can see you, and it's really good, and I can see that you're alive. So that's wonderful. Folks, before we begin, and before we go deep into the horrible stuff, and hopefully end it on a light note, what I would love to find out, as I do with all my webinars, is I want to find out where you are logging in from. Are you in Dublin? Are you in Clare? Are you in Kerry? Are you in the UK, Wales, Scotland, America? Where are you? Where are you? I just want to find out. So if you pop your comments into the chat, it gives me an idea of who I'm talking to. So for example, if there's a whole load of American people on the webinar, I'll know not to crack some Irish jokes that only Irish people will understand. Like the amount of Easter eggs that I ate in the last 2 to 3 days. American people might not necessarily understand that. It has been a very chocolatey weekend for me. Okay, let's see where everybody's from. Louise from Cork, I think it's Tab Louise, I guess it's Louise Tab, I'm assuming, from Cork, hiya. Elaine, thank you for turning on your camera. Much appreciated. Okay. Heidi from Slovenia, hiya Heidi. Sinead from Dublin, hiya. Sanjay from UK, wonderful, hiya, welcome to the webinar. Teresa from Kilkenny, the Kilkenny Cats. Rachel from Dublin, hi Rachel. Sylvia from Cork, the Republic. Beth from Yorkshire. Hi Beth, good to have you. Sarah from Dublin. Hi Sarah. Marie from Dublin. Great stuff, Marie. Kay is from Kerry. The Kingdom of Kerry. The Kingdom. Hi Kay. Alex from London. Hi Alex, thank you very much for joining us. Elaine from Tipperary. I would do a Tipperary accent, except I'm no good at Tipperary accents. But I know there is one. I know there is one. Kildare accent, which is my accent, isn't very hard to do. It's just B flat and that's it. Desmond from Derry. Hiya Desmond. Good to have you here. Shanora from Kerry. Fantastic. That is fantastic. Great. Okay, and I got that message too. Folks, thank you so much. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Let's get going. Roughly this webinar is going to be about an hour, a little bit over an hour, maybe just a little bit. Okay, so yeah, just don't leave until the end if you don't mind, and I'll tell you why in a minute. To introduce this webinar is based on this book called Dianetics. It means through the mind. And it's written by this gentleman by the name of L. Ron Hubbard. Now, people sometimes ask me, is this connected with Scientology? And my answer is yes. The same guy who wrote this subject developed a subject called Scientology. Okay, so there's other materials about administration and management and relationships, all that kind of stuff. But this webinar is primarily based on the materials in this particular manual. Okay? Now, if you have any questions about the connection between the two or anything you don't understand, you can email or send a message to Sylvia. Hang on, there's a Sylvia. Hang on. Let's see. Sylvia Host. There's a Sylvia Host. And you can send a message to her and she'll pick up any questions that you have. Okay? Now, so the promise here is this. At the end of this webinar, you are going to have some tools that you can use to be able to help you to prevent yourself from getting into narcissistic relationships in the future, and to help you understand one if you're in one at the moment. That's number one. And number two is what you need to do to go about handling the bad effects that a narcissistic person has had on you and your life. All right? That is the promise. Now, I want you all to stay around until the end, because for everybody who stays until the end, I have a special little thing for you. I have a special thing that I want to show you, and it's just for you, just for those guys who stay around till the end, so I better make it entertaining. Attention-wise, sometimes when I'm doing a Zoom webinar, because it's digital and it's not, it's digital, other things can distract you. So if you have Spotify playing at the moment, or you're watching a movie at the moment, or there's people texting you all the time and you're answering your texts, and the dog and the cat are running around you, or the kids are climbing up on you, park them for the moment. I mean, don't park the kids, but yeah, don't park the kids, but park the dog and the cat, and turn off the TV. And turn off Spotify, because I want to get your full attention just for the next hour and a bit. Like, it's a beautiful evening in Ireland, and we all want to be out inhaling the fresh air, so I won't keep you longer than the data is going to need to be communicated. That's it. That's the promise, okay? Now, who am I to be talking about this stuff anyway? Who is this fella? This young fella that shows up on, or not so young, shows up on my YouTube or Facebook or however you found it. How and why am I here talking to you about this? Well, quick story. In college, doing personnel management as a business studies degree course in Dublin years ago, interested in helping people, went traveling to Germany, came across this material, used it to help other people. It was effective, continued to do my own researches on it, continued to use it with other people, had it used with myself, and have been using it and teaching it for over 25 years to help people for only one reason. It works. And there's nothing else. I'm not interested in fancy babble about things that should be. I'm just interested in practical things. Does it work or does it not work? Okay? Give me something practical. So that's what I'm here to communicate with you tonight. Okay? Now, in terms of narcissistic behavior and people around you, I think, and you can give me a thumbs up on this if you like, okay? Or you can give me a yes in the comment section. I think we can agree that if you were more able to handle narcissistic people, and you were able to move on from narcissistic abuse, your life would be much, much better. Who agrees with that? Give me an old thumbs up or an anything. Sarah, thank you. Louise. Heidi. Sarah, I called you already. Sarah, I called you twice. Okay. Sanjay, agreed. Sinead. Who else? Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. Got the thumb there. I see it. I see the thumb, Rachel. Kira, thank you. Alex. Josephine. Teresa. Kay. Kirma, yes. Thank you. Marie, yes. Look. Sometimes, thank you, Beth. Sometimes when you are affected by such a personality in your environment, you might go to a specialist who will tell you, oh, you're worrying too much. It's all in your head. You're stressed out too much. And here's a few pills to numb you down. Okay? I don't follow the whole let's numb the person philosophy. I don't follow that philosophy. Hey, let's numb him down so he doesn't make any trouble and so he doesn't live. Okay? The fact is, narcissistic personalities do exist in life. They can affect you, and if you don't handle it, things get pretty bad. Okay, tell you a personal story quickly. When I came across this, and even before it, I was very interested in seeing people happy and helping people. So when I came across this and I started applying it, I started to tell people about it as a very much full-time activity. And I had a person who used to visit me, okay, in my life. And I was very enthusiastic back then. Sure, I was only a young lad. I was only a young fella. But I had this fella who used to visit me. Kind of an acquaintance, jokey fellow. I thought he was a nice guy. Really nice guy. The trouble is that when we spoke, he would, in a very kind of a jokey manner, and he would explain how his theories were always right, and that my theories, that I'm a nice guy, but my theories aren't really probably, I need to do more research and yeah. But each opportunity he took to cut something about what I was doing, cut, he took it. Now, my attitude at the time was, I don't know why I'm getting so stressed out after these conversations. I don't know why I'm so angry. I don't know why I've just lost confidence. It's not him. It has to be me. That's what I thought. It's not him. It's me. So I got very introverted at times, and it cut down my willingness to talk to other people about this subject and about helping people in general. And I thought to myself, this guy's a nice guy, but when I look back on it, after studying what I studied, there was a lot of chipping going away, indirect chipping, Take something that you believe, cut it, tell you you're a little bit nuts, laugh it off, and then you go back starting to think to yourself. And this was definitely affecting my morale, my motivation, and just my general happiness, okay? So before I tell you how I handle it, I want to ask you a question. This is your first exercise for the webinar. You didn't think you were going to be getting homework now, did you? This is going to be live homework. Okay. I want to find out why you are here at this webinar. Please pop it into the chat. Like, is it that you are in a narcissistic or a relationship that squashes you down? Is it that your boss constantly criticizes you to others? Is it to do with your family? Is it to do with the past, that you were in an abusive relationship and now you're out of it, but it still affects you? So the reason I want to know this is because some things I can cover and some things I shouldn't bother covering because nobody wants to know. So I'd like to find out what you want to find out about so that I can kind of angle where the webinar is going, okay? So take a moment to just think about why you clicked into this webinar tonight. What is the problem that you want to know more about? Is it critical people? Is it relationships? Is it, how to handle certain people? Is it your past? What is the reason you came here tonight? I'm actually interested, every one of you who are on the webinar, I'm interested to find out what is going on and also what effect it's having on you. And I might just take some points and stick them on the board because this kind of helps us to direct where the webinar is going. Okay, so take a moment, tell me what your problem is, pop it into the chat. You don't have to go too specific if you don't want to. If it's about somebody else, just give me just a general comment, okay? Rachel, I think it's my mom, but I can't seem to spot it as clearly with my friends or colleagues or partners now because of it. Okay, so we have uncertainty, okay? In other words, not sure, are they or are they not? Thank you very much, Rachel, Heidi the same. Louise, left an abusive relationship last year, just getting myself together now and started studying more about NPD. I don't know what NPD is, Louise. But anyway, we'll put in repair, okay? Repair yourself, okay, because of that. Abuse, so we'll just put in abusive. And then the repair for that. Thank you very much, Louise. Dealing with ex-husband K affecting me and my children. Okay, got it. So we have current abuse. Or sorry, we just say current abuse or seen. Okay? Thank you very much. K. Always learning. Have two people in my family like this. How to deal with them. Always bring you down. Good. So we have not certain. We'll go over that. All right. Thank you very much. Martina's past relationship, good. So we have that maybe previous stuff and how to repair yourself from it. Thank you, Martina's. Sylvie, out of abusive relationship for 2 weeks, want to make sense of it all. Okay, so why did it happen in the first place, and perhaps a bit of repair work. If you're still thinking about it, there's probably a bit of repair work that's needed. Sylvia. Sinead, red flag, so I don't end up in difficult relationship again. Fantastic, thank you. So that is going to be covered on the uncertain bit. Narcissistic personality disorder, okay, NPD, got it. Elaine, I think I've been suffering abuse for nearly 20 years. It's only beginning to make sense now. Okay, got it. So we have the uncertainty and to be established, and also the repair work. Thank you very much, Elaine. In the middle of a separation, and all of a sudden my ex has been betraying narcissism. Okay, got it. Thank you, Declan. Again, so then the understanding. Josephine struggling to get over a relationship that broke up last. Okay. So we're going to put down relationships here because it's coming up a lot. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Louise, for clarifying that. Okay. Josephine struggling to get over a past relationship. Thank you. Alex, think of two narcissistic parents in their 40s, believe it still affects me. I'm at the point of cutting them out of my life, but the suffering still continues if they are out of my life. Got it, okay? So then we've got current relationships, current scene, and then repair of past stuff. Thank you, Alex. Heidi, definitely had a narcissistic father, but I handled him, he's corrected his behaviour. But my mum, interesting you should say that, Heidi, and we're going to go over in a few minutes exactly the difference between somebody who's narcissistic just temporarily and somebody who's truly suppressing other people, okay? So that's really good. Thank you so much. Definitely just handling the corrective behaviour, but my mum can't really give any appraisal, support my wins, nothing is good enough. Thank you very much. So we'll put down criticism. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Heidi. Rachel, same as Louise for me, but he didn't seem narcissistic. It was more emotionally abusive sometimes. He didn't even know he was doing it, but I was left in a bad way of self-doubt. We're going to cover that, Rachel. Thank you so much. Kira, married narcissistic bully, and even though I left after 2 years, 24 years ago, I haven't dealt with it, and I only realised recently that it affected my well-being and my decisions and all of my opinion of myself. Got it. Repair. Thank you very much, Kira. Kirma, family and ex-husband don't trust. Okay, so trust. Okay, very good. I like that one. All right, because when you're in such a situation, you put your all into somebody, you love them, you trust them, and then it turns out that you are manipulated by them or abused in some way emotionally, and then your trust in people goes. Very good. Thank you very much, Kerma. Marie, I've just left a 4 years physical and emotional abuse relationship. Empath, I think he saw me like pray. I want tools. Tools, thank you. Pop it down. Okay. Tools, got it. Rachel, never got praise either, got it. Okay, thank you. I don't know if, okay, somebody's, two bosses. Okay, got it, bosses, so we have work. All right, let me just make a very, very, very brief note, so I just remember it for later on. Criticism, uncertain, tools, repair, relationship, currency. Okay, very good. So let's get into the meat and bones of this thing. The word narcissist comes from an old Greek word, narke, which means numb. I thought that was a nice little kind of introduction, because one of the things about a truly narcissistic personality is a kind of a numbness. This is where the word comes from. Narcissism comes from narke, which means numbness. Okay? And there's also this fella called Narcissus. Okay? In old Greek stories, this guy loved how he looked and stared at his reflection for so long that he turned into a narcissus flower. All right? He just loved himself so much, he turned into basically a daffodil. Okay? All right. Now, when you look at the definition of a narcissist, right, people tend to use the word narcissist a lot more and outside of its definition. So, for example, you might have somebody that you don't like who gives you a hard time sometimes. Let's say the boss, your boss in work, criticizes you because your production is down. Okay? So because you hate him, now you call him a narcissist. He's just the narcissist. He's a narcissistic pig. Okay? Or if you have a colleague that is really proud of themselves and has got a really high opinion of themselves, you say, oh, there's a narcissist if there ever was one. Okay? So it's often used in a way when something's happening to you, the word is used in a lot of ways where it's not always appropriate. Okay? Now, the basic definition from Google, so we have narcissist. Okay? The basic definition from, you can look this up on Google, it's very easy. Let me just write it, where did I write it down here? Basic definition is, excessive interest. Interest or admiration in self. Excessive interest or admiration of oneself or one's physical appearance. So excessively interested or admiring themselves or their physical appearance. Now that's the basic definition. But let's be honest, that's not why you're here. I mean, who cares? If a guy loves himself or if a girl loves himself, loves how they look, who cares? Why not? Let them on. Why not? We're often encouraging people to think better of themselves. Let them on. So this definition is the very basic definition of what a narcissist is. Somebody with excessive interest or admiration in themselves or their physical appearance. Okay? That is the fundamental definition of what a narcissist is. Okay? So what? Person thinks they're great. If it's not harming me, if they still help out charity, if they're working for their family, if they're doing good for the business, great. Okay? But that's not the definition we're going to be going over tonight. The definition has been added to, and it's been given some extra ingredients, and this is why you're here. Okay? So why you're here is we're going to just go over the additional Google definition. Okay? So we have a couple of extra ingredients here. So when we're talking about a narcissist, we're talking about somebody who is selfish. Okay? No empathy. In other words, they can't really feel how somebody else is feeling. It's something's happening to you. It doesn't. I can't feel it at all. Can't feel it at all. Controlling others. Okay. Controlling others, making a person doubt themselves. Okay. Causes you to doubt yourself. And yeah, there's actually another little word here that goes with this. It's called gaslighting. It's based on a film from, I think it's the 40s or 50s, about a guy who's doing things on his wife that he shouldn't be doing. And she's kind of approaching him, and he's making it look like she's the crazy one. So his wife asks him, for example, hey, where are you going tonight? And his response would be something like, you're paranoid. I'm just going to the shop for bread. Well, why were you 4 hours down at the shop getting bread? Oh, don't be so paranoid. You need to see a doctor. This is what gaslighting is, really. So when we're talking about narcissists, we're talking about these specific ingredients per the Oxford Dictionary. But what I want to just clarify tonight is that we can all get into that sometimes. Okay? You might consider your boss as controlling, no empathy, and selfish, and so forth. And within that definition, yes, he would fall into the category of narcissist. But you can also have a teenager who's growing up and they're now at the rebellion stage, and they might be selfish, don't care about anybody, controlling their parents, making you doubt yourself and why you didn't give them any pocket money, and then trying to make you look like you're crazy. So even teenagers and adults can get into this aspect of things for a period of time. Okay? So everybody at some stage in life can exhibit narcissistic traits. Now that does not mean it's still acceptable. Oh, it's fine because it's only going on for a year. That doesn't mean that's okay. Because what I'm going to tell you in a few minutes is how you would kind of get on top of that, okay? But these are the basic definitions of what a narcissist is. Now I'm going to make a distinction between two types here. I'm going to make a distinction, okay? So let's get rid of all this stuff here, all this previous thing, okay? And I am going to make a definition here. So we've got narcissist, okay? And we're going to put somebody who has this temporarily, okay? Who's there? You know, it just happens once in a while or something. But they've just got these, but they are not this. And this is what I want to tell you about, and this is why you're here tonight. Okay, let me just get this. A suppressive person. Okay, we have two types. Okay, we have a narcissist who is exhibiting these from time to time. Like, you wouldn't say that your kid is a bad person because they exhibit some narcissistic traits. It doesn't mean that their behavior is okay and that you shouldn't correct it or do something about it, but it doesn't mean that they've come from the depths of hell. So you've got a narcissist who is there temporarily, okay, or maybe exhibits some of the traits. So for example, you might have a partner who is very selfish, okay? But you don't know if there was a point in time when the person wasn't selfish and things happened to make them now selfish. So you can't just paint everybody with the one brush. However, most of you are here tonight because you've experienced a narcissist who is a suppressive person. Now, suppress means the following. Let me just write this in red. To squash. Okay? Make smaller. Okay? Squash, make smaller. And then I'm going to put another one here. Okay, where am I going to fit these? My writing's too big. Make uncertain about your reaching. Now I'm going to explain that to you in a minute. Okay? So these are a couple of the key ingredients of a narcissist who is a suppressive person. In other words, they suppress other people in their vicinity. And you could be one of them. They put people down and they squash them. They refuse to let you reach. In other words, for example, you want to open up your business and you want to open up a new business and you have financial backing. But somebody just stops you, refusing to let you reach. So each one of you on this webinar, you've got goals and dreams and positive, constructive ones that you want to reach for. And one of the things about a suppressive person is they will cut your reach and stop you from trying to achieve your goal, if it's a constructive goal. For example, if your goal was, you know what, I want to go out and drink 15 bottles of vodka tonight, and somebody says, you're not doing that. Okay, it's not a suppressive person because they're trying to help you. Okay? Whereas if you wanted to go out and say, you know what, I want to go help kids, help the environment, I want to do something with my life, I want to build a better world. And this person says, no, you should stay at home and knit with me for the rest of your life, and that's all you're good for. That's when we enter the territory of suppressive person. Okay? So this person is going to try and squash you, make you smaller, you're not good enough, you're not brainy enough, you wouldn't be intelligent enough, you shouldn't go up for that new job, you'd never make it, all these things to try and squash you down. Make uncertain about your reaching. Here's a good example. So let's say you want to open up your business, okay? And you have a narcissist who is a suppressive person, okay? One thing they will do is they'll make you uncertain about your reaching. In an indirect way, they'll kind of try and twist it to make you doubt yourself. You are 100% sure that a bakery in your local community is going to work and it's going to be a successful business. You're 100% sure of it. You've done your research, you've got the funds, you've got good staff set up. It's going to work. And this guy works on you, works on you, works on you as a friend, because I care about you. Oh, as a friend, to manipulate you into changing your mind. And the end result, somebody else opens up a successful bakery and you're still at home and living with your mother or your father, or you're on the street or something. Okay. Next one here. So these are, so I'm focusing not on this that people can exhibit from time to time. I'm talking about a narcissist who is a suppressive person. So here's a couple of the basic traits. Squash you, make you smaller through comments, make you uncertain about your reaching, make you cut your reach. And the next thing to realize, if you are connected to a suppressive person, what's going to happen is this. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm trying to fit everything in. This isn't the snake, okay? This is what we call roller coaster. Okay? Like what you'd see in a whatever, theme park, roller coaster. One of the signs that you know where you're connected to a narcissist who is suppressing you in life is that you will roller coaster. What that means is that you'll be doing fine, and then you're going to hit the deck. And then you're going to be fine again a few days later, and then you're going to hit the deck again. And then fine, up and down, up and down, up and down. Roller coastering. If you are roller coastering, you are connected to somebody who is being a suppressive person. Now, you go to a specialist and you say, I'm roller coastering. Oh, that's very bad. There's something wrong with your brain. What we need to do is, we need to adjust the chemicals in your brain to fix this chemical. We've got to put another chemical in there and shove it in with that chemical and plaster it all over with a whole bunch of other chemicals and you'll be grand. All right, it's the biggest load of baloney I've ever heard. The fact is that suppressive persons do exist and do make efforts to suppress other people, and you know that, and that's why you're here. Okay? Now, there is one other thing I want to mention, and it's from this booklet. It's called The Cause of Suppression, based on the materials of L. Ron Hubbard as well. And in this booklet, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it later, but there are 12 characteristics which can help you identify if somebody is a suppressive person or not. There's 12 exact characteristics. I'm going to read to you just one of them, okay? One of them. Okay, actually, before I do, let me ask you this. Okay, let me see, I'm after skipping a few comments here. Caroline, got your comment, ex-partner affects new relationships, got it? Sarah, okay, got that message, got that private message that was sent to me. Do they say things like, you can't do anything without me? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This is part of this thing here. Make you uncertain about your reaching. You can't do anything without me. You know, you'd be lost without me. Basically making you think you're not good enough. So it is one of the qualities, yes. Thank you very much, Sarah, for that. Okay, Louise, you know that roller coaster. Thank you, Marie. Been through all of it. We're not the issue. It's their issue. Yeah, okay, good. So there is this aspect. So people want you to think, you know what, it's your fault. You're a bit crazy because you're going up and down. It's to do with your genes and your brain and all the rest of it. There is somebody in your environment suppressing you. It's a fact. Now, let me ask you this. I want to do a quick survey here, folks, right? I want to ask you this. Have you ever heard this? Okay? And please give me either a thumbs up or you can say yes in the comments box, right? Have you ever heard this? Or taught this? The person you're dealing with, now this is relating to the person that we're thinking about here, right? The narcissistic person. They never change. Who has heard that or thought it? They just won't change. They never change. They have never changed and they won't. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Kay. Let's see. They just won't change. No matter what you do, they won't change. Thank you, Kay. Okay. Thank you, Declan. Victor. Hi, Victor. Caroline. Louise. Sylvia. Yeah. Heidi. Okay. Now, Teresa. Anybody else? Elaine. Yeah. They just won't change. No matter what I do, they won't change. Okay. Josephine, thank you. Sharon, got it. Now, let me tell you something very interesting. One of the 12 characteristics that this gentleman researched, which is just on the button, is this. Number 4 out of 12. A characteristic and one of the sad things about an antisocial personality, a suppressive person, who is also a narcissist. A characteristic and one of the sad things about an antisocial personality is that it does not respond to treatment or reform. Does not respond to treatment or reform. It's one of the characteristics. Now look, there are 12 in total, so just because somebody has this one doesn't necessarily mean that they're a suppressive person, but it is one of the traits. One of the traits of a suppressive person is that they do not respond to treatment or reform. Now, when you're doing an examination of anybody, you can't just have a list of the negative points and tick off all the negative points. You also have to look at the positive side. So I want to take this exact point and show you the characteristics of the social personality. So this is the exact one on the opposite side. Here we go. If somebody is definitely not a suppressive person, here is their number 4 characteristic. Treatment and reform work very well on the social personality. Listen to this. Whereas antisocial people sometimes promise to reform, oh yeah, it's going to change. I won't do it again. I know I've beaten you every day for the last 10 years, but the next 10 is going to be different. I swear, the next 10 is going to be different. I promise my hand on my heart, I'll change. I'll change, I'll change. Whereas antisocial people sometimes promise to reform, they do not. Only the social personality can change or improve easily. It is often enough to point out unwanted conduct to a social personality to completely alter it for the better. So, if you have somebody who is a social person, and by the way, this is just one of the 12 traits, okay? If you have somebody who is exhibiting some of this, and they're affecting you in a bad way, but they're not really suppressive, how do you know? One of the ways you can know is that when you ask them about the situation, let's say they criticize you every day, they call you a monkey the first time, at the very first time they see you during the day, every day they call you a monkey. As a joke. And it affects you, but you don't tell them. But every day, here comes the monkey, oh hello monkey, right? So they call you a monkey every day. Now, if this person is not a suppressive person, and this is just one of the traits here by the way, let's just not, these 2 pieces of information, it's not all you need to completely get a picture of another person. But if you have this piece of data, and you tell the person, listen, I haven't said this to you before, but you know the way you call me a monkey every single day I come into the office? It upsets me. Would you mind not doing that again? For a social personality, all you'd have to do is tell the person that, and you're going to get a change. The person will say, I'm so sorry, I really didn't realize this was affecting you. I was only doing it out of a joke. I really apologize. It's not going to happen again. Anybody with a bit of humanity would do that. And you deserve to be treated with that kind of respect. Whereas if you did the same thing to a suppressive person who's calling you a monkey every day, and you say, listen, would you mind not calling me a monkey? It'd be great if you don't mind. because it kind of affects me. The suppressive person would come back to you and say, you shouldn't be so introverted. You think too much. You're too stressed out, you idiot. And then use different ways the next day to try and manipulate you without using the word monkey. Or maybe they'll just continue using it. So the point is, and one of these characteristics is that a suppressive person does not respond to reform, but a person who's just here on a temporary basis does. Somebody gave me an example in the chat about handling their father, and the person changed. It's a sign that that person is a social person, wants to help others. Whereas I think they mentioned somebody else who wouldn't change. It's one of the signs that they could be a suppressive person and a narcissist. Okay? So this is just one of the things to know about. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you more about this little booklet. This gives you all the 12 characteristics at the very end, so I'm going to tell you more about this at the end. Okay? Yes. Rachel, you make a very good point. One of the things about these people is that, they're right and you're always wrong. That doesn't mean if your husband's saying you're wrong, I'm right, that either party are wrong or right. But it is one of the things about a suppressive person. They cannot look inward. If you've got a truly narcissistic, suppressive person in your life, they cannot look inward. It's nothing to do with them. They are numb. So I'm glad you brought up that point, Rachel, because it slipped my mind. Okay. Yes. Somebody sent a question in about person tried to contact, left a person, they've tried to contact you, ignored them. Will the person try and stop contacting? It's a very, very personal thing. I'd have to have a look at the whole scene to actually tell you, but I think the very first step, as I'm going to tell you at the end, is to get a little bit more education on what's going on first, and then you'll know better what to do. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Okay? Can two narcissists coexist in marriage? Well, if that's happening, and if they're truly like this, and it's truly a suppressive person, it is going to be very difficult for both people, because neither one can totally handle the other person. But honestly, usually, it's a very rare situation where the two people will be narcissistic and suppressive people in the same relationship, because what a suppressive person will do is they try to squash the other person all the time. And, if the two people are trying to do that, it's an unusual situation. But it could happen, but it's likely that at max one of them is a suppressive person and the other one is maybe sometimes going into that personality. Okay? Or is there always narcissistic and codependent, as it is referred to on the, or is there always narcissistic and codependent? Okay, there's more to that explained in this book, where a person gets attached to a certain type of personality that they can't shake. That's a bit more of a deep question. I cover that in a different set of webinars. So Heidi, that'll be in the book. I'm going to tell you about that later on. Sarah, do they enjoy beating you down to the stage where you self-harm? The thing is that if a person is suppressing you, as you will find out if you follow this up, is that one of the reasons why is because the person doesn't want to see you getting any better, because you might overpower them. So do they enjoy seeing you down? Probably not, but if somebody who's truly suppressive is keeping you down, that's kind of where they want you to be. So it's like they're achieving their goals in some respects, okay? Now, folks, some things that you can use. Okay, now, next question for you. Who has had this thought? Yes, Kierman, they're always right, never wrong. Never wrong. And you feel like after a conversation with them, the person is right. I'm nothing. You kind of get that feeling. Okay, next section. So we went over this bit here, narcissistic, and how to identify a little bit. Okay, next one. Have you ever heard this? And give me a thumbs up or a yes or whatever it is in the chat. He or she has ruined my life. He's ruined my life. Or they are destroying everything. It's them. Okay. Hiya, Kerma. I see you. Got it? Sarah, thank you very much. Okie dokie. I'm going to scroll back here. Thank you, Heidi. Anybody else who has heard us? They have ruined my life. If it wasn't for them, my life would be totally different. If it wasn't for that bleepity, bleepity, bleep, 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 I would have taken a totally different route. Okay, so a good few yeses coming in there. All right. You feel like you're wrong after conflict where you know you're not wrong. Good point, Louise. Yes. Martinez, yes. Teresa, no. Okay. What if it's me that said that? Rachel, and you know one of the things, it's interesting you should ask that. If it's maybe I'm the narcissist, one of the qualities of a suppressive person who's a narcissist is they cannot look inwards. So it's never their fault. So congratulations, you're a social personality, Rachel. Delighted for you. Okay. You're always wrong, you're too sensitive. Lovely. A lovely little way of just trying to get you to introvert, okay? Declan was constantly called controlling my marriage, but I never felt considered in my marriage when I expressed an opinion. My wife never wanted a marriage where we discussed things that mattered and called me controlling when I wanted to be considered. This caused me to question myself. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not to necessarily say, because, you know, marriages can often have trouble for all sorts of different reasons. This is not the only thing, okay? But, you know, one of the things about a suppressive person is they will try to introvert you all the time, try to make you think that it's your fault. Keep you going, keep you looking inwards, keep you looking inwards, keep you looking inwards. But there is a factor here in a minute, which I'm going to go over with you, that affects this, Declan. And it's basically both people pressing each other's buttons. And I'm going to cover that now. Yeah, that's exactly what my ex used to say to me. He made me what I am. Okay, got it. Okay, Declan. Good. All right, Elaine. Good. Now, let's have a look at this point. He's ruined my life. She ruined my life. How were they able to do that? Now, you are a strong individual. You've got an immense ability to think clearly, and you know it. There are times that you have solved problems that were fantastic. Each person on this webinar is a very competent individual, and you are very clever and you can come up with solutions. So how is it that somebody managed to manipulate you so much by pressing buttons to get you to a situation where you got stressed, or you lost your temper, or you worry all the time, or you got stuck in this relationship, or you couldn't think, so you just stayed with him for 20 years? I'm going to tell you exactly why. Okay, now, so what we just looked at is the external aspect, okay? When you're looking at somebody to identify how is this person good for me or not, okay? Now we're going to look at the internal aspect, okay? Now, what the internal aspect is this. You have a mind. That mind is composed of pictures from your past, okay? So all your experiences growing up are stored in your mind. That's what your mind is. Mind is not the brain. Okay? I never believed that the potential thinking and memories and the beauty that you experience in your entire life could be all stored in a lump of meat inside a skull. Like, honestly, I never believed that, even before I got interested in this, and that all you got to do is handle the chemicals. Anyway, don't start me. Don't start me down that. I'd start giving out. Okay, your mind is a record of your pictures from the past, and they are there. So if you do a little experiment right now and just close your eyes and think about your breakfast, give it a shot. And have a look at, see what you see around you. See if you can get any smells, any tastes, any of that, any sounds. And you can open your eyes again. That's a picture. And that's part of the mind. And your mind records things all the time. And you use that information to help you to solve problems. Okay? So, if your mind is in very good condition and you are thinking clearly and you're feeling good and you're thinking well, your decisions are going to be very, very good. You're going to be able to say the right thing at the right time. You'll pick the right partner and you'll make the right decisions in general. Okay? If your mind is in good condition. Now, if your thinking is all muddied up, okay, it is going to affect the decisions that you make about how long you stay with a person. Should you hire a certain employee? What should you do, right? Now, where does this negative thinking come from? Where does that negative thinking come from that causes you to think you're not good enough? He's better than I am. I'm so stressed out. Where does that come from? It comes from baggage. And that baggage is consistent of pain that you have accumulated from past abusive relationships or other past bad experiences. Okay? So that pain can be physical. Okay? Maybe somebody pushed you off a bike when you were a kid. Maybe you came from school one day and there was a gang of kids waiting outside to give you a good thumping and did that every day for a year. Maybe you had an operation where the doctor took out the wrong kidney. Who knows? But that physical pain doesn't get stored here. It gets stored in a separate compartment. Okay? So your mind records everything. All your experiences with people, your mind records that. That's grand. But any incidents with physical pain or emotional pain, and specifically loss, they get stored in a separate compartment in the mind, which in Dianetics we call the reactive mind. Okay? And it's called reactive because it is push button. Okay? So each person is carrying around a thing which contains buttons that can be pressed. And those buttons are all stored in here in a package of the bad experiences that you had in the past. So for example, if your dad used to beat you as a kid every day, just for fun, okay? Give you a couple of belts across the back of the head. Those incidents will get stored in here. Now all it takes is for your dad, okay, without even touching you, or without, maybe it could be years later, maybe he stopped doing it for 10 years, but all he has to do is frown at you, and he used to frown a lot here, to trigger off the bad experiences, which then affects your thinking, which then affects your emotion, and which then affects your action. What I'm saying here is this. You are carrying around a package of pain from the past, and those packages of pain can get triggered by things in your environment deliberately or accidentally. So I'll give you another example. Let's say, let's take the kid who was bullied in school, okay? He got beaten up after school by a bunch of bullies, pounded, okay, when he was between 8 and 10, okay? So he's got these bad experiences in here. Now, he's now working with a colleague in a new job. He's now, 15 years older. He's working and everything's apparently fine. This new colleague is a suppressive person and doesn't want to see this guy doing well. And he knows, okay, he knows that if he uses a certain tone, if he uses anger, okay, if he uses anger and that tone, he knows that it makes him nervous. It makes Joe nervous. So what he does is deliberately, to keep this fella down, he continuously uses a certain voice tone because he knows it triggers this guy off. But why does it trigger him off? It triggers him off because something is getting triggered in the past that's buried. Some physical pain incident or incidents or emotional abuse or loss from the past. Let's take a relationship, okay? So let's say this guy Joe was going out with a girl and he had a big loss. He loved her and she left him for his cousin. She met his cousin. She went, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm going out with your cousin. See you later. And he was absolutely heartbroken. Okay? Now he's in a new relationship. Okay? And his new girlfriend, maybe she knows about what happened to him. Maybe she doesn't. Okay? But what she does is, if she's a suppressive person, and a narcissistic suppressive person at that, what she'll do is she'll threaten to leave him regularly, because she knows that by just threatening to leave him, it turns on this sadness and this emotion, which turns him into a very upset person, and then she can give him sympathy. So she deliberately presses those buttons to make him stressed out, to make him sad, and then when he's down, give him sympathy. Oh, listen, come over here. I know you're no good. I know. I'll make you a nice cup of tea. Whereas half an hour ago, she was cutting away, cutting. What I'm saying to you is this. Everybody is carrying around packages of physical and emotional pain from physical abuse, accidents and injuries, and emotional losses from the past. It's stored in a section called the reactive mind. And this part of your mind is not under your control. It's not under your control, because all it takes is somebody to know what's in there, or to know what buttons to press, to just press the button, make you react. The first thing that gets affected is your thoughts, even though you might not be aware of it. And the next thing is your emotion. It makes you stressed or worried, or you lose your temper. And the next thing is you start making mistakes, or you're doing the wrong thing. So this is the primary thing that's wrong. Okay? The primary thing is this pain from the past. Now, my next question for you is this. I want to ask you, what is an example of one thing that somebody uses to push your button? Pop it into the chat. So give me an example of something that somebody does or says that pushes your button. And if you're not here because it's for you, maybe something that you notice that somebody else uses to push somebody else's button. What do they use? Is it threat? Is it sympathy? Is it, poor Joe, or kind of bring you out and get you drunk? What do they use to press your buttons? And pop it into the chat if you don't mind. That would be fab. Because, and the reason I want to mention this to you is this. The only power that a narcissistic, suppressive person has over you is their ability to press your buttons. And your buttons are buried in this thing called the reactive mind, so that if that was cleared up, they could say that you're an idiot until the cows come home, and it wouldn't have any effect. You would just be able to get on with life and deal with them. Because one of the problems is, when you have a narcissistic suppressive person around and you try to deal with them, what they do is they try to push your buttons until you're down, and then that's grand. Okay? Let me see what we've got here. Okay, I think I missed a few. There's a whole conversation going on that I might just catch up on later, but I want to just kind of roll along here. Shinora, manipulation, thank you. Elaine, shouts and gets aggressive, thank you. Threat, thank you. Declan, Rachel, make their problem worse than yours, thank you. Sanj, silent treatment, that's a popular one. It's a good one, silent treatment. Blocking and unblocking, causing trauma, thank you Sanj. Whining self, silent treatment, cutting off, thank you Heidi. Make you feel sorry for them and their lives and the world is against them so they need you so much. Oh Louise, that makes me so sad, sympathetically. Got it, but a good example. Sinead, ran me down even though I was doing everything for our family, left me walking on eggshells, never knowing what mood he'd be in. Good one. Martinez, ignoring, immature blocking, name calling, lying, thank you. Sarah, ignore you. Martina, silent treatment too. Good. Constant complaining so that you feel sorry for them. Yes. Shouting, never say sorry after I've done wrong. Got it. Makes you feel sorry for them and silent treatment. Thank you, Caroline. Anybody who's listened to those comments, you can see that, you know what, it's just like if somebody was behaving with true human nature, they wouldn't be doing this type of stuff. But remember, for a social personality, you can simply tell them, please stop that and don't do it again, and they'll normally stop it. But for a suppressive, narcissistic person, they're not going to stop, we just keep going. You know? Keep going, and it does need to be handled. Now, so thank you so much for those. These are all valid, okay? And they can affect different people in different ways. But the bottom line is that they trigger off the baggage that is stored. So what is needed is two things, okay? Number one is to learn how to identify the full traits of a suppressive person who's a narcissist, okay? And the second thing is to clear up the past upsets. Now, I want to briefly touch on, like, look at, let me ask you one last question here before we wrap up. Who has thought this? You know what? It's going to change by itself. If I just give it some time, if I just give it another year, it'll be different in a year. It's going to work out all by itself. It's all going to be grand. Has anybody ever heard that or even thought that, you know what, that's how I'm going to handle it? It'll be grand. It's all going to be fine. We'll see how it goes. Time will heal it and it'll all be perfect. Okay, Sarah, thanks. Caroline. Alex, thank you. Yeah, Sanj, got it. Very good. Okay, but not this year. Got it. Yeah. You deserve to be treated with respect. It's human nature to be treating people with respect, and you have a right to be treated positively and nicely. You know what? You do have a right. Now, so two things. To get educated onto how to identify them first so that you don't get yourself into the situation in the first place. Because usually what happens is when people say, you know what, it's never going to happen again. Because you're carrying around this baggage and the bad experience, the likelihood of it happening again is very, very high. Even though you say, you know, it's never going to happen again, I've learned my lesson, it's not going to happen. Yes. But because you've got all the stuff that you're carrying around that can just be push button triggered, it could affect your thinking again, and you can go into the whole sympathy thing again for a person whose intention is to suppress you. Okay, now, so we've covered two things, right? We've covered some of the traits of a narcissistic person who is suppressive, and we've covered the fact that you're carrying around pain and upset from the past which has to be cleared. Now in Dianetics, I'm just going to touch on this really briefly. We do a thing called auditing. Auditing means to listen, and you've got a person called an auditor helping somebody else who's got their eyes closed in a session, and this is explained in the book which I'll tell you about in a minute, to help them to return to things that have happened to them in the past and using the exact 10-step procedure of Dianetics to basically clear it up. Go back, clear them up, go back, clear them up. And sometimes, if this one doesn't handle, you have to go to an earlier one and an earlier one until you get to the basic. Okay? So the whole purpose of auditing is to help a person to clear up things that have happened to them in the past. That is the primary thing to do, to handle this. Okay? Now, it's called auditing. There's an end result. The end result is called clear. Okay? It's not, Dianetics is not a way of life or not something that you do as a, every day for 5 minutes in the morning. You do it until that stuff is cleared, then you can get on with your life. You'll have recovered from the stuff that's happened to you, and you'll be able to deal with these narcissistic people in the future. Okay, do they use the phrase, "you're my property, you can never leave"? Oh my dear. If I heard that, it would be one of the red flags for me. I'd be saying, listen, please don't say that to me again, because I don't like it. And if the person's a social personality, they will change that. They will say, okay, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Okay? You don't have to put up with that. Okay, now, I want to tell you what I recommend for you, okay? Because, let me ask you this. If you are connected to an antisocial person, a suppressive narcissist, and if you're carrying around this baggage from the past, and you don't handle it now, and I just want you to think about this, what's it going to be like in 5 years' time? So if you right now are being affected by a narcissistic person who is suppressing you, what's it going to be like? I think we can agree it is not going to just get better magically. So you have to actually do something about it. And there is a solution, and I want to show you that right now. I've put together a little thing for you. So I want to show you the solution, and I'm going to share with you my screen. And I'm going to answer that question that came in a few minutes from Sylvia, okay? So I'm going to share this, first of all, with you. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's this book, all right? It's called Dianetics. Dianetics, okay? And in this book, it explains to you how your mind works. It explains to you what your analytical mind is, which is the normal part of your mind, and what is your reactive mind. And it also shows you the exact sequence of steps that you use to fully clear up the emotional pain that you have built up from past narcissistic, suppressive relationships and all bad experiences that you've had, particularly losses and injuries. Okay? So it basically shows you what to do so that you can completely clear up the past upsets and not be stuck in them and not be affected by them and not get triggered by somebody who just wants to put you down. Okay? So that is number one thing to do, is to clear up that. Okay? Now, the second thing I wanted to mention, because you all here have kind of some, otherwise you wouldn't have come to the webinar, you haven't sorry, you have come here because you've probably experienced it. I refer to this booklet throughout the webinar. It's called The Cause of Suppression. And in this booklet, it explains in detail all the 12 characteristics of a suppressive person and all the 12 characteristics of a social person. Because you can't just have an exercise that has all the bad things. You have to also look at the good things, so that you can make an accurate analysis. So this book will basically help you to identify a suppressive narcissist so that you can prevent yourself from getting into that relationship in the future, and so that you just save yourself an awful lot of time and an awful lot of heartache to know before you go. Okay? So that's the booklet. So there's the two things that I mentioned, which is the first thing is the Dianetics, which is the internal stuff, and the Cause of Suppression is the external stuff, and you need both. All right? So now, for the purpose of the webinar, in terms of cost, the cost of the Dianetics book is €20, and the Cause of Suppression is €5. So it's basically, in total, the cost of it is €25, and basically those are sent with free shipping. All right? Now, to thank, and I've mentioned at the beginning, for all of those who stayed till the end, I had something for you. To thank you for being here with me for the entire time. I'm going to be doing question and answers afterwards, by the way, if you want to stay. To thank you for that, it's €20 for tonight until the end of this webinar. So literally until about 9:30, if you're interested in getting the manual and getting those two manuals, they are very important to actually read and understand. Very, very important for you in your life, and will really help you. Okay, so if you want to get them tonight, there's going to be a link going up. There's a link there going up, and it's already gone up there. Sylvia posted it. If you click on that link, for roughly around the next 20 minutes, that offer is going to be there. So if you're interested and you want to get a copy of those books, click on the link and it'll be €20, all right? And then after 9:30, it'll be €25. So it's just, I mean, it's really just to encourage people to get this stuff and to learn more, you see? Because what I've gone over with you tonight is really just a small snippet of the information contained in these manuals. Look, if all this stuff did for you was help you to become stronger as I became, more confident, less easy to control, less easy to put down, if all it did for you was that, I think it'd be worth it, don't you? And if all it did was help you to be able to stay away from suppressive, narcissistic personalities and to be able to be not affected by the negative things that have happened to you in your past, I think it would be worth it too, don't you? All right. Okay, now, so that's the offer. It's going to be open until 9:30 tonight. What I want to do now, okay, is I'm going to go back and check for a question. Somebody asked a question and I'm going to answer that. I'm going to open up the floor for any questions that you have. So if you have a question on anything I went over tonight or the materials, please pop your question into the chat and I will answer it. And roughly our question and answer period will be going on to about 9:30. Depending on the questions. I mean, if there's no questions, I'll just sing a song or something. No, I won't. If there's no questions, I'll do a dance. No, I won't. But anyway, I'll just go and have a little look at the previous questions that have come in. So, if you're interested in the offer, and really, I really would like you to get this material, it's good for you. I'm an ordinary man, as Christy Moore used to say in a song. I'm an ordinary man, nothing special, nothing grand. This stuff works, and that's all I want you to get out of it. It helps people. And that's all. I want you to get the same benefits that I got, and the same stability. That's what it gives you. Stability and certainty of yourself, and the ability to not fall into the same trap that you fell into before. It's really, really important information. And so I really want everybody who's on the webinar to take the plunge. Give it a shot. You know, and it will really, really help you. And so that offer is up there for you right now. Okay, now I'm going to fly back here and go over a question. I think Sylvia, I'm going to have to catch up on this previous stuff here. Let's see. Yeah, Victor, constant complaining, shouting, never saying sorry. Okay, I got all that. Okay, unblocked you, Martinez, making you feel sorry for them. Heidi, unblocked you, and like the post, giving you the silent treatment. Okay, gave her chances and nothing changes. Thank you. Every year of that. Okay. Do they use the phrase? I went over that one. In my situation, Sarah, it was about. Oh, you're talking to somebody, Sarah. There. Okay, that's fine. I won't interrupt with that. Is there a chance? Any chance narcissists do this? Push buttons subconsciously or without any bad intention? I do not want to find excuses for their behavior. I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that such people want to intentionally hurt others are such monsters. Yes, Sylvia, thank you for passing the test of being a social personality. Because you know, just like what I did all those years ago, when I was being undermined indirectly, when I was made to feel uncertain and so forth, I just blamed myself. I had to say, because my honest and genuine opinion in life is people are basically good. All right? They're basically good. However people get to this narcissistic situation, however it happens, and there's things that you can find out about that, the fact of the matter is, a person's behavior and what they do and the result of their actions is really all you can go by. What a person says and what a person, his policy is or his dreams are, is not really evidence of where a person is at. If a person is putting a person down every day, making them feel worthless, or whatever, yes, there is a chance that that person could be a suppressive person. Now, as I mentioned, it also happens that people do from time to time display narcissistic traits. Controlling others, lack of empathy, making them doubt themselves. I mean, we've all probably done it ourselves from time to time. But that doesn't necessarily make us a true suppressive person. Because the fact is that when a person is being affected by their past and they're being triggered, things can come out that they don't mean. Now that doesn't mean it's okay. Like, let's say a person could say, oh, listen, I was stressed out because of my past, and that's why I hit you over the head with a baseball bat. Well, okay, maybe it was the past that affected him, but that doesn't make it okay. And that doesn't mean that the person has the right to continue to do that. They do need to handle their reactive mind, but while they're handling their reactive mind, they need to keep their baseball bats locked away. Because you're an individual who's trying to survive, you're trying to solve problems, you're trying to live. You're doing your best. You deserve to be treated with respect and politeness and good manners. And if somebody around you is not doing that, you have the right to say to that person over a cup of tea, listen, please, can you not do that again? If you don't mind, with cherries on top, please. You have a right to be treated with respect. And so even if the person is not a truly suppressive person, you still need to go and approach that person and say, listen, Mr. Boss, you know the way you slag me off in the morning, can you please don't do that? If you don't mind. I don't like it. Okay? Hope that helps you, Sylvia. Declan. Will there be a replay of this webinar? Good question. Send a message to Sylvia. Sylvia, the host, should be able to answer that. Rachel, holy bleep, Louise. Pity you didn't have the strength to keep him out. Okay. So there's a private conversation going on that. You kind of send me a recording as well. Okay, Sylvia. I know I kept letting him back. Only once it's okay. I think there's a conversation that I'm not involved in here. Okay, where do you order the books? There's a link down there. Okay. And you got the recordings. Heidi has the book in hardcover. Very good. How do we order? Click the link. And it's open for 13 minutes. Yes, it is a good offer. Thank you, Victor. You wait till Friday. Okay, no problem. Okay, Sarah. Recording. Sharon. Rachel, I'll send you a link for the book. Great. Yeah, and look, there's no problem with the recording aspect of it, right? But on what I mentioned throughout this webinar is a tiny little snippet. A tiny snippet of what's in these materials. These give you all the data. So what I went over tonight, for example, for anybody who wants to watch this again or whatever, you can watch it on YouTube and Facebook and all this type of stuff. For anybody who wants to watch it again, that's fine, okay? But it's important to get all the data. I only covered a couple of snippets. And so what I'm telling you is that if you want to determine who's suppressive and who's not, you need to look at all 12 characteristics on both sides, the positive and the negative, okay? Good. All right. Why does my ex-narcissist keep my mother in Facebook and likes her post all the time? Oh, Martinez, I love that question. I love it. It's definitely a trait of somebody who's, look, it could be an accident that they're doing that, but sometimes people do that deliberately. They like somebody else's stuff knowing that you're going to see that and knowing it's going to upset you, so they do it anyway. It's so subtle, so indirect. Beautiful. Okay. Look, and they might just like the posts on the other hand. Look, just because somebody likes a certain types of posts on Facebook doesn't necessarily mean anything particularly, but it could be. Okay? Brilliant, Louise. Declan is that organise the buy books tomorrow. Okay? Sylvia will sort you out. It's making you feel sorry for them is true. Okay? Victor, can you do Dianetics without? Yes, Victor. Can you do Dianetics without previous experience? Absolutely. You can literally just read the book. There's 3 books in the one book. Book 1 is about the goal of Dianetics, what you're aiming for. I mentioned the clear. Book 2 is about how your mind works. And book 3 is about what you do. In other words, it gives you the exact procedure, step by step, in book 3. It's in this book. It's 500 pages in it, a lovely glossary as well. and shows you all about how to do it here. So yes, you can use it straight from the book. Hope that helps. Thanks, Victor. Okay. So if you can't get it for the time, but it's always €25. Look, there's not, it's not too much of a difference, but just it's a bit of a perk to kind of get you going, to get you into getting the materials. Can you view about two narcissists coexisting or narcissistic codependent relationship? Yeah. Look, as I mentioned, I think I brought this up before, right? But what I want to mention about this is this: if you have a truly suppressive narcissist, okay, their intention is going to be to keep others down, okay? That's going to be their intention, to keep others down. And so they will do that directly or indirectly, okay? Now, if you have two people who are truly suppressive persons, and they're trying to put each other down, it's going to be a nightmare. What usually happens, though, I mean, this is a very rare, honestly, it would be a rare situation. The chances of it happening might not necessarily be too high. What's most likely the case is that one person is a truly suppressive narcissist, and the other person is adopting some of that person's traits in order to try and fight back. Okay? Because as explained in the Dianetics book, there are aspects of another person's personality that you can take on to yourself without realizing it, and you can change over time. You can change from a sweet, wonderful girl, wonderful woman, to a vicious, nasty person just by taking on, without realizing it, the traits of somebody else. And on a third situation, to answer your question fully, is that you might have two people who appear to be suppressive people, but all that's happening is that they're pressing each other's buttons from past abusive relationships. It could be a parent, it could have been some past relationship. They're pressing each other's buttons all the time. So when you say codependent narcissistic relationship, it's really what we have in the majority of situations is people pressing each other's buttons all the time because both people have a reactive mind full of a content of pain and upset. And that reactive mind just triggers and triggers and triggers, and then one person triggers the next, and now he's been triggered, so he triggers her, and then she's been triggered, and now she triggers him, and it goes on and on and on like that. And it just becomes insane. But in such a situation, the solution is not necessarily to cut the ties. It would be to, first of all, establish from this book, and I'll plug the books again, is the person a suppressive person or not? In many cases, you'll find that they're not, okay? But it's to actually use the techniques in this book so that both people can clear up the past so that they can have a sane relationship, right? Because, you know, ultimately underneath it, people are basically good. But things, experiences, bad experiences change people along the line, and they can turn into somebody different. Okay? So I hope that helps you, Heidi. Louise, great to have you. Okay, Sharon, no problemo. Okay, yeah. Okay, and by the way, this is a little for anybody who's left. Okay? Some people are gone, that's fine. There is, for those people who get the materials, all right, there is a consultation that you can get, all right? And the fact is this, right? I'm not a sales guy. I'm not, I haven't kind of done sales course or anything like that. You know, this stuff is really to help, right? Because it's not that, for me personally, my desire has been to help people throughout my entire life, and that's what's motivated me. The purpose of this is to help you because we care that you get results. It's not just to throw you out there with a book that's going to end up on a shelf. It's that we care so that you can get results. Okay? So after the webinar tonight, there's going to be an email coming out to you to get a free consultation with one of our trained Dianetics personnel who's going to be able to kind of maybe even discuss your own personal issue with you as well. So if you want to get that, you can, and that's going to be sent out to you by email directly afterwards. Okay? All right, let's see next. Yes, they do. Okay. Sarah, how do you get yourself back together after you are away? I feel like he's created a prison for me. Okay, first of all, Sarah, if the situation is happening in present time, it needs to be handled. In other words, you need to sit down with your partner and work out this situation so that it's handled going forward and doesn't crop up again. And in this book, it gives you the only 2 ways to handle it, the situation, okay? And so it explains that. So that would be the first thing to do, is to learn how to actually address it, okay? So it's in there. The second thing is you mentioned about how do you get yourself back together again. The reason why you're not together and you're a bit all over the place is because of this stuff. This reactive mind is not under your control, and it affects the way you think about things, and it affects your composure, and it affects your ability to maintain happiness. All right? So it's really important to clear up that stuff. So number 1, if the situation is current, it needs to be handled. And number 2, the pain needs to be addressed. Okay? Hope it helps. Okay, so it's all in the book. All right? How you do it is all in the Dianetics book. Very good. Okay. Yes, can you write the names of each book here in the chat, please? Okay, Louise, I'm sure Sylvia can do that or whatever. She'll send her a message. Oh, she's going to send you the link. Brilliant. Okay. Louise, we are known as caregivers, guys. We want to look after people and are kind, so it's easy for a narcissistic person to grind us down. Ah, I love that comment, Louise. The actual fact is, each person on this webinar, you came here to find out how to improve life, how to learn more about life. Not just for yourself, but so that you can help other people. That you have made a really, really good point. And unfortunately, when we want to make people stronger, unfortunately that shows up on the radar of a narcissistic, suppressive person who simply wants to keep you at a certain level, okay? Very good, Louise, thank you. We are going to close the offer in a few minutes. Oh yeah, it's 21:27. You got three minutes. I don't say 3, I say 3. 3 minutes, okay? Shinora, you're welcome. Rachel, you're heading off. Okay, no problem. A lot to be said for sleeping in peace, okay? This is a direct message. I don't know if I can read that out. Okay, so it's a direct message. I don't want to read it out. Why does a person use family members and kids as scapegoats? Okay, well, first of all, it's not nice. It's not nice. And all I can say is that a person could be a suppressive person, because that is the kind of things that they would do to indirectly manipulate a person. Or it could be that the person is behaving like that temporarily and needs to be corrected. You know, and a conversation over a cup of tea would likely help to handle that. I know it's easier said than done. Maybe it takes 10 cups of tea, you know. But it definitely is using family members to manipulate the scene, especially if there's kids involved, is not very nice. Not very nice. Okay, Caroline, you're welcome. Last chance, Sylvia. Okay. Okay, Sarah, you are very, very, very welcome. Okay, and I addressed that message at the end. Very, very good. Okay, folks, so wrapping up in final conclusion, thank you so much for your questions tonight. I hope you've all got these materials. Get the materials. They're good. They make sense. It works. It helps. You know, give it a shot. Okay, not too dear as well. So, and free shipping. So, you know, it's a good thing to have material like this, you know, because there's loads and loads more that you can learn. Okay, so summary, learn how to detect, use some of those traits that I mentioned in the webinar tonight, and clear up the past bad experiences. Absolutely vital. If that's not done, it causes trouble. And finally, get yourself these materials. If you missed the offer tonight, it's going to be on, you can get the link sent out to you, which has got the full price. That's fine. Folks, I'm going to say goodnight to you. It's almost 9:30. I want to say thank you to everybody who's left. Thank you to Kerma, and for having your camera on, Kerma. I didn't even notice you. I'm sorry. Louise, Sarah, Heidi, Kay, Fran, Shinora, Sylvia, Sarah, Ilza, Victor, and Elizabeth. Thank you all so much for being here. I wish you an absolutely wonderful rest of your evening, and I hope to see you again at some of my future webinars. Okay, folks? Thank you so much. Bye for now.